Chapter 13. The homecoming dance was a lot more crowded than Brenda had expected. Maybe school dances are making a comeback, she thought, as Ted led her by the hand to the dance floor. The gym was decorated with alternating rows of balloons, hundreds of balloons, all blue and silver, the McKinley High colors. A DJ had set up against one wall beneath a basketball hoop and was sending out pulsating dance music with a CD player and a turntable. The gym lights were low. The light bounced off the hundreds of balloons, making the room appear to shimmer and move, as if hundreds of fireflies were floating in the air. The music echoed off the tile walls, making the floor vibrate and hum. It's like being inside a dark thunderstorm, Brenda thought, starting to dance with Ted. Or maybe a tornado, lightning flashing all around, the sound whirling on all sides. Ted was a dark figure moving in rhythm a few yards in front of her, one of several dark figures shaking and moving inside the whirling storm. It's so dark, Brenda thought. It feels so good. I feel far away from everyone, even though I'm here in this crowd, in the middle of this vibrating, spinning storm. McKinley had lost the football game, 28-14, but the loss didn't seem to dampen anyone's spirits. Loud voices and laughter rose up over the steady, insistent pulsing of the music. For a while, Brenda lost herself in the music. As Ted and the other dark figures continued to bend and move around her, she closed her eyes and floated happily, dreamily, thinking about nothing at all. When a slow ballad replaced the pulsing dance music, she opened her eyes, expecting to see Ted hovering in front of her. But to Brenda's surprise, she was standing alone, couples gliding slowly around her. She blinked, stunned, as if she had stepped from one dream into another, and now everything seemed in slow motion. The music, the clinging couples dancing around her, the blink and shimmer of the lights on the rows of balloons, her thoughts. As if slowing, the music had changed everything, and even deprived her of Ted. Where was he? Still in the old dream? Brenda shook her head hard, as if trying to clear it. A girl in a slinky black catsuit backed into her. Oh, sorry, Brenda's voice came out muffled against the loud horns and violins. Violins? I am in the wrong dream, she thought. She made her way off the floor, dodging another couple, the strange lighting placing long shadows in Brenda's path as if trying to block her way. Hey, Ted? She thought she saw him by the refreshment table. Ted? No, it was another tall, broad-shouldered boy. He turned and grinned at her as she approached. Hey, Brenda, how's it going? Oh, hi, Mark. You see Ted? Her eyes searched the shadows, moving quickly over the dance floor. Ted? Want a brownie or something? Brownies? They're serving brownies at the dance? No thanks, Brenda hurried away. She moved through the shadows toward the DJ behind his table. Play something good, someone yelled. The DJ, a young man with slicked back black hair and a black mustache, his head bobbing under large headphones, didn't seem to hear. Where's Ted? How could he disappear like that? Weren't they dancing together? She turned back to the dance floor. Is Ted dancing? It was so hard to see. Hey, Brenda, hi. A short girl with straight black hair down to her waist. Della? Hi. You see Ted? I saw him dancing with you, Della said. You lost him? Yeah, Brenda replied, feeling dazed, out of sync. Yeah, that's it, Della. I lost him. Try the lost and found, Della joked, and laughed, a hearty laugh for such a tiny girl. Thanks. She spotted Ted a short while later, against the far wall near the double doors. She didn't see Ted first. She saw the piled-up blonde hair, red in the shadowy lights. She recognized the hair first, Haley's hair. Then she saw Ted kissing Haley. The two of them leaned against the tile wall. He had one arm around her bare shoulders. What was that dress she was wearing? That short, clingy dress down off the shoulders. Brenda had seen it. Halley must have been saving it special for the dance. Especially for stealing Ted away. Brenda moved closer, watching them kiss. In front of everyone. In front of the whole school. Ted, her date. Kissing Haley, her cousin. No wonder everyone had been staring at Brenda all week. I am in the wrong dream, she thought sadly. And then, as she stood in the middle of the floor, uncertain of what to do next or where to go, everything became more unreal, even more dreamlike. And Noah appeared, as if out of nowhere. He was wearing a shiny, loose-fitting sport shirt over the neatly creased chinos. His dress-up outfit? He moved quickly, too quickly, as if he were floating toward the kissing couple, as if he were propelled from one dream into another. It just didn't seem real to Brenda. Noah had such a look of rage on his face. There he was, as Brenda stared, pulling Ted away. Ted pulled back. He shoved Noah. Noah shoved Ted. Haley was talking quickly, her face twisted in surprise. She raised her hands to her face. Was she screaming at Noah? Was she just screaming? The music grew louder. It echoed on all sides. The shadows began to whir, faster and faster, inside the tornado. And Noah was pulling the front of Ted's shirt, and Ted shoved Noah into the wall. How did they get outside after that? Brenda didn't remember following them out, but she suddenly realized she was cold without her jacket. It was much darker now. The sky above was charcoal gray. There were no stars, no shimmering lights bouncing off the silver balloons. She had chased after them, Noah pulling Ted, Ted pushing Noah, Haley running in her shiny red pumps, the pumps that matched the sexy dress. Everyone shouting at once. Stop it now, Haley's voice so shrill, so angry. Stop it. But now they were in the parking lot behind the school, narrow beams of white light shooting into the parked cars from tall poles. And Noah shoved Ted hard into the wire fence. The fence rattled in protest and shook, holding Ted like a spiderweb. But Ted pulled free, and his fist shot out, hitting air. Noah kicked at him. Ted sprang forward with a loud grunt, shoved Noah hard, and sent him sprawling backwards over the hood of a white Buick Skylark. They groaned and uttered quiet sobs as they went at each other. And across the parking lot, huddled between two cars, Brenda watched in mute horror, as if watching a dream, watching Haley pose under a white spotlight, her hair so blonde, her dress so shiny, red as fresh blood. Haley posed under the light and watched the fight. Brenda trembled when she saw Haley's face, the pleased smile, the joy, the total joy on Haley's face. Haley was enjoying the fight so much. That's when Brenda turned away. The smile on Haley's face made Brenda turn away, her stomach churning. She could still hear the grunts and cries of the fight behind her. She raised her hands to cover her ears and started to run. Between the parked cars, then across the wide open aisle of the parking lot. Behind the school now, the gym door opened just a crack, the music seeping out like air from the mouth of a balloon. Leaving the pounding drums and guitars behind, Brenda ran into the darkness. She was running across someone's yard now, the tall grass wet with dew. She crossed the street and kept running, her heart pounding, the streetlights bobbing and tilting ahead of her. Okay, she thought. Okay. I'm okay, she thought, her shoes pounding the sidewalk. I'm okay. No more dreams, no more illusions, no more living in a dream world for you, Brenda. You're okay. And you know what you have to do. It didn't take long to run home. It didn't take long to push open the front door and run up to her room and grab the phone and punch in Tracy's number. Tracy picked up on the second ring, startled by Brenda's breathless greeting. Brenda, are you home already? Dinah's here. What happened? Why are you home so early? Why do you sound so weird? You know our murder plot? Brenda cried into the phone, gasping to catch her breath. You know our murder plot, to murder Haley? Let's do it, okay? Let's really kill her. Chapter 14. Are these cool or what? Tracy strutted around the room, waving the bouquet of peacock feathers. They're really beautiful, Dinah said, reaching out to run her hand down one blue and green feather. But how are you going to sew them onto your costume? Brenda asked. Tracy stopped strutting and lowered the long feathers to her side. Well, I thought maybe you'd help me, Bren. You're such a good seamstress. When it comes to sewing, I'm all thumbs. It was a gray afternoon. The three girls had shared a lunch of tomato soup and peanut butter sandwiches. Then they'd made their way up to Brenda's room to talk. Dinah was wearing a black and white striped sweater over faded jeans. Tracy, her black hair pulled straight back in a ponytail, wore loose-fitting gray sweats. Brenda had on an enormous old white dress shirt of her father's over black tights. I think we have to wrap the stems together somehow, then sew them onto the back of the costume, Brenda said thoughtfully, staring hard at the feathers bobbing on their long stems. Maybe if we cut the stems? She was interrupted by Randy, who barged into the room, a smear of peanut butter on his cheek. Anyone want to play Prince of Persia? It's a great game. What's Prince of Persia? Tracy asked. I just told you. It's a game, Randy replied impatiently. You know, a computer game. We don't have time for games, Randy, Brenda said sharply. She put her hands on his shoulders and turned him around. Take a walk, okay? Hey, he squirmed out of her grasp. Maybe they want to play. Not right now. Tracy and Dinah shook their heads. We're busy, Brenda told him. Get lost, really. You're a jerk, Randy told her. I know, Brenda replied. She gave him a push toward the door. He made an ugly face at her, then hurried out. As soon as he was gone, Brenda closed the door, making sure it clicked shut. Were we like that when we were 10? She asked her friends. Girls are different, Dinah replied. I think he's cute, Tracy said, smiling. Brenda sighed and dropped down onto the edge of her bed. Maybe we should all go play Prince of Persia instead of talking about what we're going to talk about. Tracy's smile faded. Were you serious? I mean, about what you said on the phone? Deadly serious, Brenda replied, narrowing her eyes. Oh, wow. Tracy dropped the peacock feathers on the dresser top and lowered herself onto the desk chair. We're going to plan a real murder? Dinah asked, lowering her voice. She stood by the window, leaning against the frame, her hands in her jeans pockets. She looked very pale in the gray light from outside. We've already planned it, Brenda told her. But that was just for fun, Dinah insisted. Murdering Halley will be fun, Brenda said matter-of-factly. Tracy laughed, nervous laughter. I can't believe you can sit here so calmly and talk about killing your own cousin like it's nothing. Brenda shifted her weight on the bed. She twisted the opal ring on her middle finger as she talked, her eyes on the window. I've thought about it a lot, Tracy, and I know we can do it. Using our murder plot? Dinah asked, staring hard at Brenda, as if trying to discover how serious she was. We can do it, Brenda repeated. Sit down, Dinah. You're making me nervous standing like that. Dinah snickered. Planning a murder doesn't make you nervous, but me standing here does? Just sit down, Brenda replied sharply. Come on, we've got a lot to talk about. Tracy and Dinah moved, and the three girls clustered together on top of the pink quilted bedspread. Tracy had a peacock feather in her hand and kept pulling it through her fingers. Are you sure we can't just talk to Halley? Dinah asked, smoothing the bedspread with one hand. I mean, if you tell her... Tell her what? Brenda snapped shrilly. Tell her that I don't want maggoty meat in my bed anymore? Tell her that I really prefer it if she kept the headless, decaying birds to herself? Tell her that I don't need her stealing my boyfriends and deliberately wrecking my car? Okay, Tracy said soothingly, patting Brenda's heaving shoulders. Calm down, Bren. We know what you've been through, she sighed. Halley stole my boyfriend, too. There's no point in talking to her, Brenda screamed at Dinah. I'm sorry, Dinah said softly, casting a troubled glance at Tracy. I just thought, killing Halley will be so easy, Brenda interrupted, her green eyes lighting up excitedly. I've got it all planned. We just switch costumes at the party. No one will know who did it, and then... Whoa, Tracy cried. Back up, Bren. Not so fast. What do you mean switch costumes? Brenda sighed impatiently. Look, everyone knows I'm going to be a clown, right? I've told everyone I know. Everyone I invited to the party. Yeah, so? Tracy demanded. So everyone knows that you're going to be a peacock, Brenda continued, talking rapidly. If we can get my tail to stay on, Tracy said, running the long feather through her fingers. And Dinah's going to be a monk, right? Brenda said. So, what if we switch costumes? Look, she jumped to her feet and hurried over to the dresser. Crouching down, she pulled open the bottom drawer. After a brief search, she pulled a small bundle out from under a pile of sweaters. What's that, another costume? Tracy asked. Brenda nodded, an excited smile on her face. She unwrapped the costume. An ugly mask dropped onto the bed. It's a Frankenstein costume, she told them. I bought it at the party store yesterday. She held up the green rubber Frankenstein mask. Who's going to wear that? Tracy asked. I am, Brenda announced. She picked up the mask and started to roll up the costume around it. Don't you see? I'll tell everyone I'm going to be a clown, but instead I wear the Frankenstein costume. Then you wear the clown costume so everyone thinks you're me, and Dinah can wear your peacock costume so everyone will think she's you. So we're all in different costumes. Then what? Tracy demanded, a bewildered expression on her face. She tugged nervously at her black ponytail. Across from her, Dinah remained silent, her eyes on Brenda. Then I kill Halley, Brenda said impatiently, as if it were obvious. I stab her in the chest, in her gorilla suit. In that heavy costume, no one will even see the blood. Where will you get the knife? Dinah asked. Brenda scowled. That's no problem. My parents have all these really sharp kitchen knives. I'll use one of those. Then, see, I'll change my costume before anyone even realizes that Halley has been stabbed. You'll change into what? Tracy asked. Into Dinah's monk robe, Brenda replied. See, I have it all figured out. No one will know who is what. I'll stab Halley as Frankenstein, and then the Frankenstein will completely disappear, and if anyone questions why the three of us are in each other's costumes, we'll just say we did it as a last-minute goof, just for fun. Brenda stared expectantly at her two friends, waiting for their reaction. "It's perfect, isn't it?" she asked excitedly. "There's just one problem," Dinah said in a whisper. "Huh? Problem?" Brenda asked, frowning. "Yeah," Dinah replied, climbing to her feet. "I'm not doing it." "Dinah," Brenda started. "No. No way," Dinah insisted, shaking her head. She started toward the bedroom door, then turned back to Brenda. Her face was pale, her lower lip trembling. "I can't, Brenda. I can't do it. I know you hate Haley, and I know she's done some horrible things to you, but I just can't do this." "Dinah, listen," Brenda pleaded. "No, no, no, no," Dinah said with growing emotion. "I won't try to talk you out of it, and I won't tell anyone what you're planning or what I know. But I won't do it, Brenda. I won't be part of it. I can't murder someone. I just can't." Dinah turned and hurried out of the room, closing the door very hard behind her. Brenda sat very still, listening to Dinah's footsteps descend the stairs. When she heard the front door slam, she got up and walked to her closet. "Here, try this on, Tracy," she said, pulling out her red and white clown costume. "Huh? Try it on. Now?" Tracy climbed to her feet, a bewildered expression on her face. "It isn't quite finished," Brenda said, holding it up for Tracy to admire. "I still have to put the big buttons on the front, but we have to make sure it fits you." "You mean," Tracy started. It'll actually be easier with just the two of us," Brenda said, giving her friend a reassuring smile. "We didn't really need Dinah, but I thought she'd be hurt if we left her out." "We're still going to switch costumes?" Tracy demanded. "Yeah, right," Brenda replied, shoving the clown costume into Tracy's arms. "You'll be the clown, I'll be the peacock. But Brenda, what if—" Brenda had her head tilted, a thoughtful expression on her face. "You know what?" she said, ignoring Tracy's reluctance. "I'll sew a new Frankenstein costume. I'll make it really big, big and baggy, so it'll fit over the peacock costume. Then, after I stab Haley, I can go into the other room and tear it off, and I'll be all set to reappear as the peacock." "And you'll hide the Frankenstein costume?" Tracy asked. Yeah, sure, a smile spread across Brenda's face. "I'm going to shove it down the laundry chute. No one will ever think to look there." Tracy chewed her lower lip. "I don't know, Bren." Brenda gave Tracy a gentle shove. "Don't just stand there. Try on the clown costume. We don't have time to waste." Tracy held the costume up in front of her. "I think it'll fit," she said in a quiet voice. Brenda's grin widened. "I can't believe Haley's going to wear that big gorilla suit. She's made it so much easier for me to kill her. It's the first thing she ever did for me." Brenda snickered. "Do you believe it, Tracy? After next Saturday, Haley will be gone. Gone! And I can breathe again." Brenda did an energetic twirl. Tracy stared reluctantly at the clown costume. Below Brenda's room on the first floor of the house, a figure stood in the narrow hallway between the living room and the kitchen. She stood very still, very straight, as if paralyzed. The figure was Haley. She had been standing in the hallway for a long time, under the air vent that led up to Brenda's room, and she heard every word that was said in Brenda's room. Chapter 15. That evening, Mr. and Mrs. Morgan went out for dinner with friends. Brenda had a pizza delivered. She and Randy sat across from each other at the dining room table. Haley sat at the end of the table, as far away from Brenda as she could get. She nibbled at her pizza slice, avoiding Brenda's stare. "Can we play Prince of Persia after dinner?" Randy pleaded. "Please." "I can't," Brenda replied curtly. "I have to get to the mall and get some sewing supplies." She swallowed a pepperoni slice. "Want to come with me?" Randy shook his head dispiritedly. "No way. I don't want to go to any sewing store." He pulled another slice from the box. "Will you play with me when you get back?" "Maybe," Brenda replied, only half hearing, her mind on other things. Randy turned to Haley. "How about you? Can you play with me?" "I'm not good at computer games," Haley said quietly. "Do you have checkers or chess or something?" "Boring," Randy muttered, pulling the cheese off his slice. He always pulled the cheese off and ate it separately. Brenda stared down the table at her cousin, an unfriendly sneer on her face. "What's going on, Haley? No date tonight?" Haley lowered her eyes to her pizza and didn't reply. "No boys fighting over you tonight?" Brenda teased, her tone cold and bitter. Haley didn't reply. Her expression remained frozen in a tight frown. She picked up her plate, stood up, and carried it away from the table. "Why are you so mean to her?" Randy demanded. "I'm not mean. She's mean," Brenda replied curtly. "You're always mean to her," Randy told his sister. "You don't know what you're saying," Brenda said. "She didn't do anything to you," Randy argued. "Give me a break," Brenda moaned. Saturday night at the mall, Brenda muttered to herself, shaking her head. She had driven around the parking lot 3 times before she found a parking space. Everyone I know is probably hanging out here tonight. She glanced at the sign listing the movies playing at the Tinplex. I should have made plans with Tracy or Dinah to go to a movie, she thought, climbing out of the car and slamming the door. She pulled her jacket collar up around her neck. No, who can concentrate on a movie? She lowered her head against the gusting wind and, glancing up at the starless purple sky, her hands in her jeans pockets, began making her way quickly across the parking lot. The sewing store was off in a corner near the auto service center. I could probably duck in and out without running into anyone I know, she told herself. She wasn't in a social mood. She wanted to get the threads and buttons she needed and hurry back to her room to think. She had a lot to think about. A crash, followed by a metallic clatter and a loud shout, made Brenda utter a strangled cry and spin around. 2 rows behind her, a station wagon had backed into a shopping cart. Calm down, she scolded herself. You nearly jumped out of your skin. Her heart was still pounding. Guess I'm a little jumpy, she thought, taking a deep breath and holding it. She pulled open the heavy glass door and stepped through a blast of warm air into the brightly lit corridor. Win a new Corvette! The banner caught her eye as she entered. Beneath the banner, encased in a box of clear plastic, was a shiny red Corvette, and standing to the side of the display case, admiring the car, were Ted and Noah. Huh? Brenda stopped short. She wasn't sure she was seeing correctly. Her eyes still hadn't adjusted to the brightness of the mall courtyard. Whoa, it was definitely Ted and Noah. She watched as Noah gave Ted a playful shove into the plastic display case. Ted said something, and the 2 of them laughed heartily. I don't believe this, Brenda muttered to herself. She pictured the 2 boys going at each other in the dark parking lot the night before, trying to kill each other, battling for the fair Halley as Halley preened in the spotlight, enjoying their ferocious battle. And now, here were Ted and Noah, the best of pals, kidding around, joking and laughing together. Boys are weird, Brenda thought. Boys are jerks, to put it in Randy's language. Brenda stared at them, standing in the center of the wide aisle. She felt a wave of disgust rise over her. Ted is such a creep. How could he do that to me? Leave me by myself in the middle of the dance floor to go make out with Halley in front of everyone. He hadn't even phoned her later. The creep. The jerk. She suddenly had an urge to go start another fight, to slug Ted in the jaw, to hit him as hard as she could, to hurt him the way he had hurt her. A picture flashed into her mind. Her fist had landed squarely on Ted's jaw, and his teeth were flying in the air like a cartoon. She couldn't help but laugh, but then she remembered she didn't want anyone to see her. She turned abruptly and began jogging away from them, in the direction of the sewing store. Too late. Hey, Brenda! Brenda! She kept jogging, pretending she didn't hear Ted's surprised cries. Whoa! Brenda nearly plowed into a woman pushing a baby stroller. Brenda, wait up! Ted was beside her now, breathing hard, pushing back his brown hair, his dark eyes locked on hers. Brenda, hi. She stopped and scowled at him. She didn't say a word. I was gonna call you, Bryn, he stammered, fiddling with the cuffs of his sweatshirt. How did you enjoy the dance? She asked with a bitter sneer. Yeah, he lowered his eyes. Listen, I'm sorry, I messed up. Yeah, you did, she said coldly. You messed up, Ted. She glanced over his shoulder. Noah had lingered at the Corvette display. He was pretending to still be interested in the car. Ted swallowed hard. I guess if I said I'm sorry, it wouldn't do you any good. He raised his eyes to hers. His cheeks turned bright pink. But I really am sorry, Bryn, he said. Yeah, me too, she replied coldly. I'm real sorry. He kicked at an already flattened paper cup on the floor. You know, you could give me another chance, he said softly. It won't happen again. Really, I swear to you, Bryn, it won't happen again. That's for sure, she declared bitterly. She started to walk away, taking rapid strides. No, wait, he hurried to keep up with her. Your Halloween party. I guess you don't want me to come now, I guess. Brenda had a sudden idea. It was so mean, so incredibly cruel, so bad. It made her laugh out loud. Ted seemed to shrink back. He was blushing bright scarlet. Well, I just, wanted to say I'm sorry, really. You can come to the party, Brenda told him, still snickering. His dark eyes widened in shock. Huh? I can? Yeah, sure, said Brenda. Just about everyone from McKinley is coming. You might as well come too, Ted. We'll all be in costumes, and it'll be such a mob, I won't even know you're there. She could see the hurt flicker in his eyes. How about if I stay and help you clean up afterwards or something, he suggested. She frowned. No, I don't think so. Do you have a costume? Not yet, he said, glancing back at Noah, who was still pretending to study the Corvette. Well, can you do me one favor? Brenda told him. Sure, anything, he said eagerly. Come as Frankenstein. Huh? There are some good Frankenstein costumes at the party store over there, Brenda pointed. Come as Frankenstein, okay? I made a bet with Randy. Ted scratched his head. A bet? Yeah, I bet him that there would be a Frankenstein at the party, Brenda said, surprising herself at what a good liar she was becoming. Randy thinks it'll be only Freddy Kruegers, no Frankensteins, so go get one of those Frankenstein costumes, okay? A smile spread over Ted's handsome face. Okay, Bryn, you got it. She grinned back at him, so pleased with herself she might have just burst. Hey, Ted, Noah called from the car display. What's happening? I've got to get going, Ted said, gesturing for Noah to hold on a minute. Listen, Bryn. I know, you're real sorry about last night, Brenda said sarcastically. Yeah, I am, really, he said, avoiding her hard stare. See you at the party, Frankenstein. And tell Noah he's too short for a Corvette, Brenda joked. He'd have to sit on a booster seat to see over the steering wheel. Ted chuckled. That's cold, he declared. That's really cold. See you. He gave her a quick wave and loped off toward Noah. You don't know cold, Brenda thought, smiling. Running into Ted hadn't been such a bad thing after all. She couldn't wait to tell Tracy and Dinah how she had maneuvered Ted into a Frankenstein costume. The same kind of costume the killer would be wearing. What a riot! Thinking about it cheered Brenda up a lot. At the sewing store, empty on a Saturday night except for Brenda and a bored salesgirl, she found the buttons she needed to complete her clown costume and picked up some thick foam padding and several spools of thread. She looked forward to spending the rest of the evening sewing. Sewing always relaxed her, and it gave her some time to think. She always did her best thinking with a needle in her hand. As Brenda drove home, she thought about the afternoon. It had gone really well, she thought. Dinah's decision not to join in had come as a surprise, but then Dinah had always defended Haley since the day Haley arrived. Dinah had some kind of soft spot for Haley, Brenda decided. Was it because Dinah's parents had gone through a terrible divorce and a long, drawn-out custody battle, just like Haley's parents were doing now? Brenda shuddered, thinking about Dinah. They had been such close friends, but during the divorce, Brenda just couldn't bear to be with Dinah or to see her. It was just too sad, too horribly sad. Brenda had been glad when the mess was all settled and Dinah was happily living with her mother, and she and Tracy and Dinah could all be friends again. Yeah, she had been very glad. But now Dinah was breaking away from the trio again, refusing to join in. Too bad, Brenda thought unhappily. Too bad. But I guess I can understand. She pulled her father's Pontiac up the driveway and cut the engine and the lights. Then, grabbing up her package, she hurried into the house, eager to start sewing. To Brenda's surprise, the light was on in her bedroom. She hesitated at the doorway and peered in. Someone was sitting on her bed. Haley! Under the harsh yellow light from the ceiling lamp, Haley turned and glared at Brenda, her blue eyes brimming with hatred. Come in, Brenda, she said in a tight, hard voice. I've been waiting for you.